I just dropped a video late last night talking about DOGE and how there's no DOGE cuts in the proposed spending bill that's coming out. And people are really pissed off about it. They're frustrated. And a lot of people were, I don't know if I'd say raging about it online, but a lot of people were voicing their displeasure with the lack of DOGE being mentioned or any of the financial uncoverings that they have discovered. And why isn't that in the spending bill that they're talking about passing? The big, beautiful spending bill or whatever it is that they're calling it in Congress. However, this just came out a little bit ago, just a few hours ago. Don't you ever believe you don't have a voice here on X. You moved the needle on the DOGE cuts. Yes, you're reading this post. You did that. The silent majority did not stay silent, and it worked. Do not give up. Be relentless. Use your voice. Codify the DOGE cuts. So this comes as news outlets, including Fox News and a bunch of other ones, they're out running these news articles stating that the White House is sending a $9.4 billion DOGE cuts package to Congress next week. And I also have another one over here on the other side of the aisle from Axios, and they're also saying the same amount, even though that seems to be just a little drop in the bucket in the grand scheme of things. I mean, $1.5 trillion cut that Speaker Johnson is claiming that they are doing, which I'm not so sure I believe, not when they're increasing the debt ceiling $5 trillion. Doesn't seem to make any sense to me, but I don't know. What do I know? Anyway, so we've got this from Nick Sordor, or which, by the way, Matt Van Swoll, I mean, you can read it. So he mentioned that. He actually reposted the leading report breaking Trump White House to send several DOGE cut requests to the House GOP next week amid online pressure campaign per Politico. And it was going on and on yesterday. I don't know if I'd say it was going wildly viral or anything crazy like that, but there were a lot of people talking about that yesterday. I think it came on the heels of Ron DeSantis giving that speech yesterday, and he mentioned that in his speech that, where are the DOGE cuts? There are no DOGE cuts in this spending bill. Why? I mean, the Republicans, they control Congress, they control the House, and they control the Senate, and they control the White House right now, and obviously they've got the Supreme Court as well. So they're pretty well in control of everything. They don't have a 60-vote majority in the Senate, but they're in pretty good, solid control everywhere else. I mean, I guess, granted, they do have a razor-thin majority over in the House, and there's usually at least a few Republicans that jump over, they defect over to the other side when it comes to just about any issue. It's really frustrating because Democrats, they're always really united when it comes to the House. Like, if there's something that Republicans want passed these days, they just will go against it no matter what it is, no matter how helpful it would actually be to their constituents. But anyway, whatever. So this came from Nick Sordor. Breaking, the White House will be sending DOGE cut requests to Congress next week amid online pressure campaign per Politico. That's the power of we the people here on X. President Trump listens to us. Take them up quickly, Speaker Johnson. We'll see. I've got a couple more here from Kelly Loeffler. I'll play this clip in a second. On top of DOGE cuts, the one big, beautiful bill will generate $1.6 trillion in savings, create 1 million Main Street jobs, and drive $750 billion in economic activity. Not only is this administration reigning in government, it's driving historic new growth and prosperity for small businesses. As long as they don't just keep spending and adding to the debt, man. People are getting just a little bit sick of inflation. This next one came from EB. Washington Examiner is reporting Trump is to send a $9.4 billion recessions package to Congress, giving congressional Republicans their first chance to start codifying cuts proposed by DOGE. Walk the talk and get her done. I'm really looking forward to next week just to see if they're going to do anything with it. I have a feeling they're not going to. I don't think they're going to. I think they're just going to sit on their hands and they're going to say, well, we've already got so far with this spending package. It's like we already printed it all out and we already used up like 10,000 sheets of paper putting this bill together and like we don't want to like waste any more paper and have to reprint it. I don't know. I know that's not what they're going to say. They're going to come up with a very, very good reason in their opinion as to why they're not going to be able to do this. But we'll see what happens. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is from Publius, breaking. Marjorie Taylor Greene says DOGE cuts bill to be voted on in the House on Monday. So mark your calendars. Apparently on Monday it's going to happen. Quote, I was just told that we are going to see the first DOGE cuts bill on Monday. Foreign aid and NPR/CBP, CPB. I don't know why I always screw that up. I'm not dyslexic, but for some reason when it comes to CPB, I always screw that up. Anyway, foreign aid and NPR/CPB on the chopping block. Interesting. Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you believe Speaker Johnson will follow through on all of the DOGE cuts after another long vacation break? I don't know. If I were to hedge my bets on one or the other, I'd probably say no. So, and just to finish this up with Eric Daugherty, Rep. Brandon Gill says, now let's codify the DOGE cuts. We don't have time to waste. And I agree. Might as well get it done. And we only got a finite amount of time. So I'll go ahead and play this clip real quick. That was from the post earlier, so I'll just give this a quick go.
And that's certainly something that's just part of what DOGE is helping with. It's not just fraud, it's waste and abuse. And we found billions at this agency, which, by the way, will be made permanent. We are getting rid of $3 billion in wasteful contracts. And what I'm excited about is we can do that. We can make the DOGE cuts permanent, and we can have the big, beautiful bill, which is really brilliant in terms of what it does, because it cuts $1.6 trillion in wasteful spending, in mandatory spending, and then we will also have the DOGE cuts on top of it. And we know that President Trump supports both, getting rid of the mandatory spending as well as the DOGE cuts, which are so important.
All right. Maybe I should do a video on that just to see what exactly they're cutting. What are they cutting as far as $1.6 trillion? I actually haven't read into that to see. I'm assuming it's out there to read to see what they're proposing that they cut. Because DOGE has been doing all this work, I know they don't have an army of people. I mean, they've probably got at least a couple dozen people working and auditing different parts of the government. But if they only uncovered or uncovered enough to the point where they can claw back, what was it, $9.4 billion, what about like this $1.5 trillion? I mean, that's hundreds of times more money than what DOGE is, well, what the White House is going to propose to Congress on behalf of DOGE. I'm just curious. I might have to look into that and see if I can come up with anything on that. But this is, it's been all over X, at least the last few hours. Let me see. Let me refresh this. Actually, it's going to refresh for me. 18 seconds, 27 seconds, 28 seconds. These are the latest posts when it comes to DOGE cuts. And they're flying, man. 31 seconds, 36. I mean, these are all just posted all within the last minute. What DOGE cuts? Can you name any? That's a fair question. Keep at it. We want the DOGE cuts. DOGE cuts, fucker. How about first passing the big bill, the SAVE Act, Trump's executive orders law, DOGE cuts, so on and so forth. Please audit all of Congress and start with the Republicans that won't pass DOGE cuts. I tend to agree with that. That accounts for roughly 2% of the $500 billion in cuts DOGE has found so far. Hopefully, there are more recessions bills where that came from. Absolutely. I know, like, not $9 billion just doesn't sound all that much. I mean, because it's not in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's still $9,400 million. I mean, it's not peanuts. It's still a lot of money. That's why we have DOGE, but we can't get the DOGE cuts done. I know that's just ridiculous that that the White House has to kind of nudge Congress to add that in. Like, did y'all forget that we've been doing this whole DOGE thing? It's been in the media a lot, especially with Elon Musk running it. Codify the DOGE cuts now. So yeah, anyway, a lot of buzz happening on here about it. A lot of people talking about it. And so I'll go ahead and hop over here and read this article here for the White House. Sending $9.4 billion DOGE cuts package to Congress next week. It comes as Elon Musk's time at DOGE is starting to wind down. It's on Fox News. I'm not crazy about Fox News, but there was Fox News and there was Axios, and nobody else actually mentioned the exact dollar amount. So I didn't want to read some, obscure generic article about it. Anyway, the White House is expected to send a federal spending cut proposal to Congress next week. Two Republican sources told Fox News Digital on Wednesday. It is the latest move by Republican officials to make good on promises to slash government spending, a project spearheaded by President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. The proposal is called a recessions package, a vehicle for the president to block funds that were already allocated by Congress in its yearly appropriations process, Once transmitted to Capitol Hill, lawmakers have 45 days to take it up before it's voided. According to Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're supposed to be voting on something on Monday. So it sounds like she might be at least helping to work on putting something together. Not for sure, but an Office of Management and Budget official told Fox News Digital the package is expected to be roughly $9.4 billion. It will primarily target federal funding to NPR, PBS, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, the official said, confirming details first reported by Axios. A third GOP source told Fox News Digital that House GOP leaders had asked the White House to wait until their chamber finished their consideration of Trump's big, beautiful bill to send its its spending cut package. The House passed the massive piece of tax and spending legislation last week after an all-night session of debate and procedural votes, sending it to the Senate for further consideration. That bill, which is being advanced under the budget reconciliation process, primarily deals with mandatory government funding that Congress must change by amending the law itself. A recessions package targets discretionary government funding, which Congress sets the levels of every year in its annual appropriations process. The White House referred Fox News Digital to OMB when reached for comment. The package is expected to get to Congress just as Musk is beginning to step away from his role leading DOGE, but is apparently still keeping a close eye on governmental affairs. The billionaire tech founder criticized Republicans' big, beautiful bill on CBS News Sunday morning, saying in a preview clip that he was disappointed by it. Yeah, I can see why. I think a bill can be big or it could be beautiful, but I don't know if it could be both, Musk said. House Speaker Mike Johnson vowed the House would do more to codify DOGE cuts in a statement after Musk's message. Let's see, quote, the House is eager and ready to act on DOGE's findings so we can deliver even more cuts to big government that President Trump wants and the American people demand. We will do it in two ways, Johnson wrote on X. I don't believe him, but how about this? I'll believe it when I see it. Let's keep it simple. So let's see. Number one, when the White House sends its recessions package to the House, we will act quickly by passing legislation to codify the cuts. Two, the House will use appropriations process to swiftly implement President Trump's 2026 budget. In the meantime, we have been working around the clock as we prepared for those processes. The House made sure to build on DOGE's success with the one big, beautiful bill. Musk's commentary, meanwhile, divided House Republicans on Wednesday. Of course it did. Fucking course it did. This is why Mr. Musk has no place in Congress. He wants to codify discretionary cuts. He didn't find enough fraud, waste, and abuse to fund the Small Business Administration, let alone reduce our debt. One House GOP lawmaker granted anonymity to speak freely told Fox News Digital, quote, this was a gimmick. He got used. He's now upset. Alrighty. Meanwhile, House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris, a Republican of Maryland who voted present on the legislation last week, told Fox News Digital that he believed Elon Musk was right. I share Mr. Musk's concerns about the short-term adverse effect on the federal deficit of the limited spending reductions in the BBB. Debt markets remain concerned about U.S. total debt and annual deficits, Harris said. The House is expected to begin working on fiscal year 2026 appropriations next week through the recession package deals with fiscal year 2025 funding. Additionally, the 45-day deadline for that is not the only marker on the horizon. Identical fiscal year 2026 spending bills must pass the House and Senate by the end of the current fiscal year on September 30th to avert a partial government shutdown. Always with the government shutdowns. So that's it for the Fox News article. And I've got one over here from Axios. Trump asking Congress to help with $9.4 billion in DOGE cuts. The White House is planning to send a $9.4 billion recessions package to Congress next Tuesday, giving lawmakers the opportunity to codify some of the potential cuts identified by DOGE, according to an administration official. Why does it matter? The White House wants a big public fight over funding for NPR, PBS, and foreign aid, and they are likely to get it. I hope they do. The formal transmission of the package to Congress will start a 45-day clock for lawmakers to claw back funding that has previously been appropriated. The future of NPR, PBS, and USAID and United States Agency of International Development are hanging in the balance. I thought why does it say the USAID and United States Agency? I thought it was the same thing. Am I wrong? Are they separate entities? I didn't think they were. Anyway, Trump has been clear that he wants to defund those organizations, but he may need Republicans in Congress to supply the votes to cut off their money supply. So let's zoom in, Axios. The proposed cuts would trim $1.1 billion from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting and $8.3 billion in foreign assistance from both USAID and the African Development Foundation. NPR and PBS receive the bulk of their funding from non-governmental sources, but Corporation for Public Broadcasting allocates about $535 million in federal funding annually to them. The Office of Management and Budget has identified foreign aid grants that it's convinced will bolster its case for cutting funding for USAID and President's emergency plan for AIDS relief. Officials will identify grants like $882,000 for social media mentorship in Serbia and Belarus, or a $1 million for voter ID in Haiti, to make their case against USAID, according to an administration official. Okay. So let's zoom back out, Axios. On May 1st, Trump signed an executive order to end taxpayer subsidization of biased media, which directed the CPB to end its funding for NPR and PBS, the country's two biggest public broadcasters. PBS CEO Paula Kerger told Axios at News Shapers event April 30th that she was prepared to vigorously defend the independent broadcasters board. I mean, dude, we all know they lean pretty far left. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? NPR sued the White House on Tuesday, citing the First Amendment and alleging Trump's effort to starve them of their funding amounted to a clear violation of the Constitution. Dude, I don't care if it's public broadcasting or not. I don't think anybody who is in the press should be getting money from the government. It puts them way too much in cahoots with one another. I mean, the press is supposed to be a check on what the government is doing. They're supposed to be holding the government accountable. It's kind of hard to hold the same entity accountable that's paying you hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, is that not a conflict of interest? I mean, or am I misunderstanding the purpose of the press? I figured it was supposed to hold the government accountable, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to conveniently shy away from that. Who knows? But anyway. So let's see. NPR's CEO Catherine Mayer was grilled by GOP lawmakers at a hearing in March, including 2020 tweets where she described Trump as a racist and a sociopath. See, leaning a little bit left there. Speaker Mike Johnson told Axios back in April that it was fair for elected representatives to evaluate whether something is a good use of taxpayer dollars. The intrigue, Axios. Trump's efforts to shutter the U.S. Institute of Peace have been challenged in the courts, with a federal judge ruling last week that the institute and the ousted president had a right to return after DOGE staffers took over the building earlier this year. And the bottom line, Axios. The White House is eager to engage in a congressional fight over a relatively small amount of money, but over programs and policies that have big cultural and political implications. Nope, cut off their funding. Cut them off. If they're so important and if they're doing so much good work and if they're on this side of the truth, which would be the correct side of the truth, they shouldn't have any problem securing money from private sources. They really shouldn't. I mean, according to them, they already get the bulk of their money from private entities anyway. So, yeah, you don't need to be taking money from the government. You're supposed to be holding the government and their affairs accountable. You're supposed to be keeping the government under a microscope. And it's kind of hard to do that when they're the ones that are giving you hundreds of millions of dollars. I just think that's a blatant conflict of interest, in my opinion. So I've got this clip here. This came from Bloomberg Television, and this was published about 5 hours ago. They do a segment, and the title of the segment is A Political Panel on Elon Musk Not Being Happy with the House Tax Bill. And they're supposed to go into the DOGE cuts and Speaker Johnson's opinion on DOGE. So we'll give this a play and see what they say about it.
To power. As we assemble our political panel, Rick and Jeannie are both with us, Bloomberg Politics contributors, with our eyes on Elon Musk and some of the commentary that he made in a series of interviews, not only about the DOGE, but about the president's big, beautiful bill. Jeannie is Bloomberg Politics contributor, Democratic analyst, and senior democracy fellow with the Center for the Study of the Presidency and Congress. Rick, our Republican strategist and partner at Stone Court Capital. What do you make of this, Jeannie? Elon Musk says the bill can be big or it can be beautiful. Apparently it cannot be both. Has Donald Trump lost the man who ran the DOGE?
He seems to have. And, I was thinking, boy, that was quick. It was like literally over the weekend. He was truthing. No, not he doesn't truth. He tweets, Xing, I should say, about he was going to spend 24/7 at work. He was going to be sleeping on factory floors. And then all of a sudden he's back in sort of sounded to me a little bit like an exit interview bemoaning what is going on in Washington, D.C. I have to agree with him on the bill. I don't think it's I don't think it's beautiful. I do think it is very big, and I think he is right on the question of the deficit and the spending. So I agree with him on that, but I imagine his investors are not happy that he's not sleeping on those factory floors like he promised.
Well, of course, it's not just his investors that seem to have paid attention to his comments. The Speaker of the House seems to have been responding as well on X today, Rick, as he says Elon Musk and the entire DOGE team have done incredible work and that the House is eager and ready to act on DOGE's findings so we can deliver even more cuts to big government that President Trump wants and the American people demand. He says the two ways of doing that are acting on a rescissions package when the White House sends it to the House, and then using the appropriations process to swiftly implement the president's 2026 budget. Does the Speaker have a point that actually this one big beautiful bill is not supposed to be where we see spending cuts materialize, that has to happen separately legislatively?
Well, it can happen separately legislatively, but the reason you use reconciliation is because it's easier to do. You don't have to have a 60-vote majority in the Senate to pass. And so if you're going to go deep with the knife and cut government programs in excess of what the House attempted to do, then where are you going to get the votes for it? You barely had the votes to pass the big, beautiful bill, and now everyone's out criticizing.
Well, that's what's frustrating, because there are plenty of their constituents out there who want these cuts. They want the government to shrink and shrink some more. Most people are fed up with inflation, and I know that this government spending bill isn't the exclusive reason why inflation keeps going up, but it's definitely a driver in it, and people are pissed off about it, and it's irritating when pundits say that things like, where are they going to get the votes from? Well, this is why constituents have to be holding their Congress members accountable and threatening them with not reelecting them for starters, and getting people in there who's actually going to work for the people that vote for them, instead of just waving goodbye as soon as you vote for them and they just go off and do whatever the hell they want, listening to their lobbyists and all that other bullshit. It's just frustrating.
It for not actually having cut enough. Chip Roy must be doing, a dance in the House floor right now, because he's been saying that for a month. And so when we heard Byron Donald start talking about earlier on this program how, he's really feels frustrated by the inability to cut more into the deficit. I mean, he was voting on this bill. You could have stopped it and gone back and cut more.
That the American people want that.
As soon as the bill is sent to the Senate, it's like, well, the Senate needs to cut more. I mean, it's really unusual for Washington to play this dance. But look, the good news is everyone's focused on trying to cut that deficit, and I do think that's a high priority for both the Trump
Still don't get the debt ceiling, though.
Capitol Hill.
I did have to wonder, Rick, how many times in your years in the Senate you heard somebody in the House hoping that the Senate would cut further to make the bill better. But, we're also concerned about Elon Musk's feelings when it comes to the DOGE genie. He did a couple of interviews. There was another one with the Washington
at least we're cutting something.
Post, in which he talked about the DOGE as a whipping boy for everything. Quote, so like something bad would happen anywhere and we would get blamed for it even if we had nothing to do with it. And we know that Elon Musk was bumping into members of the cabinet just like he was lawmakers and members of the voting public. But if you're swinging a chainsaw around on stage at CPAC, shouldn't you expect to offend somebody?
You would think, right? It sort of reminded me, as good as he is at business, or brilliant as he is at business, he's very...
I mean, it's like that stunt that he did when he first bought Twitter, and as soon as he waltzed into the headquarters, he was carrying a kitchen sink, as in let that sink in.
Very new to this Washington, D.C. game, because he was surprised that he was being criticized, or what he said, blamed, and DOGE was being blamed. And of course, that suggests somebody who hasn't spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. Even Donald Trump today in his comments tried to say, listen, Elon, we'd like to do other things, but the reality is we need to get enough votes for passage. And so, I think Elon Musk sounds a little bit naive sometimes when he talks about either DOGE or the cuts and these kinds of things that are going on in Washington, D.C.
Well, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be what the American people want. And we want cuts and more cuts and even more cuts and then some cuts even after that. That's what we want at the end of the day.
Well, when he's talking about these things going on in Washington, D.C., knowing he's about to spend a whole lot less time in Washington, D.C., Rick, is this actually when we see honesty coming into the picture?
What?
Well, I don't know if it's honesty. I mean, maybe a little naive to think that you were going to go to Washington with the chainsaw and not, ruffle some feathers. But since when did Elon Musk ever care about ruffling feathers? He's been ruffling feathers since the day he was born. And thank goodness he has. He's upended the space launch industry. He's got so many other inventions that are revolutionizing technology.
Big time.
I really, actually, I'm more concerned with the fact that he's now feeling like everything. He's got feelings. And all of a sudden, because the DOGE thing didn't quite work out, so what? I mean, rockets blow up and you keep working on it. In Washington, you need to sort of pick your friends. And so in this case, I think, someone needs to sit down with Elon and say, look, your friends, the Trump administration, their followers, probably very happy with what DOGE accomplished. Rest assured, that will be your legacy in Washington. Keep moving, launch some space, and look, save a seat for me to go to Mars. I want to be an interplanetary species.
I love that, Rick. I guess you're just going to have to wait until longer than next year. Jeannie, is this a concerted PR campaign to distance Elon Musk from all things Washington?
Yeah, it absolutely could be. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about the fact that everything he had done on behalf of DOGE had alienated the big base of his buyers for Tesla. And so how do you get those back? And of course, the numbers are really suffering. You distance yourself. And we've seen him do that on tariffs already.
I don't think he really cares all that much.
Big time.
I mean, he
when
does,
it comes
but
to the issue of reconciliation.
A lot of that has to do with a lot of
might be some of that
just brain dead idiots
here.
who just listen to everything.
Also, the fact that
blind
he
NPC
has
followers.
long been disenchanted with Washington, D.C., and the fact it's now being run by the Republicans and Donald Trump's hasn't.
I mean, look, why would you have a problem with the government making cuts? I mean, why would you have a problem with the government entity rooting out like fraud, waste, and abuse? I don't understand why anybody would have any problem with that, with holding the government accountable and sending in somebody to just gut the bloat, get rid of all the bloat. And I mean, I know like Elon Musk, he's in recent years, he's become more controversial, but I mean, not really for any of the wrong reasons. I mean, like I said, like who doesn't want to see fraud eliminated from the government? I mean, that's a good thing. And I kind of get what Elon's doing, and because he's a very popular guy, everybody knows him, and everybody's known who he is since forever, like 20 years probably. And I mean, it just kind of, I guess, raises awareness about the fact that there is so much fraud in the government. And I mean, I'm sometimes wonder like why he would just go through with that initiative. Just, I don't know, but I think it's a good thing overall. And I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad that they started DOGE and they're looking into it. And even though Elon is stepping back from it, DOGE is going to keep going for another year. So they're going to keep trying to weed out as much as they possibly can and hopefully bring this huge, giant pile of paperwork to Congress at some point early, maybe mid next year, with like some sort of a crazy final report or something. And hopefully that entire report will show trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. I mean, it's kind of horrifying if that were really going to happen. Like if they uncovered like 15 like trillion or 20 trillion dollars that was essentially stolen from the taxpayers, because that would essentially probably mean that we're not getting it back. And I mean, the way Washington works, nobody's going to get criminally held responsible for that. I mean, the mismanagement and everything. I mean, like all they're really going to say is, well, we just need to have a better track record and we need to be more accountable moving forward and political buzzword after political buzzword. And I mean, realistically, I don't think we're going to see tons of people going to prison or anything. And they might be able to claw back some money, but I'm sure the vast majority of the money that they're going to uncover that's been fraudulently used or wasted, I mean, it's been exactly that. It's been wasted already. It's been fraudulently used already. I mean, if the money's been spent, I mean, how are you going to get it back? Other than just putting up policies that really should have existed the whole time. But a lot of these evil people that work in Washington, that's what they do. They look for loopholes, and they look for certain ways to skirt around and bend the rules as much as they can without getting, held criminally responsible. And obviously it's just gotten absolutely insane. I mean, even $9 billion, it's still a small number compared to the overall amount of money that government spends. But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see what they come up with over the next year.
Washington hasn't changed. Granted, it's only been 30 days.
Well, yeah, that's true. Who's still counting at this point? I think it has been like 130 days, right?
That's Friday, I believe.
End of April.
Well, I guess that's true. Elon's 130-day mark is Friday.
Yes.
End of the contract.
End of the
but
special
who's
government
counting?
Employee status. Rick, in our final minute here, what happened to the DOGE caucus in Congress? Is it them that have to kind of take the helm going forward here? Or have we all resigned ourselves to the fact that this effort is maybe a lot easier to talk about than to actually implement in reality, especially when it comes to congressional rescissions?
Well, dude, like DOGE they're not done, dude. Elon's not going to be the ending thing when it comes to DOGE. He's stepping back soon. But again, like I said, DOGE is going to be around for another year. I mean, they've been through between maybe 15 to 20% of their timeline, and they're just going to keep digging and digging. So, I mean, this isn't going to be the final end of DOGE or anything like that. What's really happening is, like with the spending bill that they're trying to pass, which I think I read is for fiscal year 2026, we just want to see some of the work that DOGE has been doing added into that bill somewhere, because why not? I mean, they've already uncovered a lot. I mean, they've already laid out a lot of stuff. Why not just include it in the bill? It's basically already a done deal. They've already pointed to where the money was missing or what have you. So, I mean, I don't know. Like,
yeah, well, we see now
come September,
sort of
I think maybe we might see more when they do more budgetary
modernizing
nonsense.
the computer systems in government, which
see.
They desperately need to do. So if it becomes something like that, which could be fruitful for taxpayers and for those getting benefits from the administration, then I think that would be a good sort of second act. We know that there have been discussions about, like, gosh, why can't we operate the federal government like American Express? And, you get things done in an easier way. But at the end of the day, I think that you're going to see sort of a limitation put on DOGE, because at the end of the day, it's hard to get your job done if you're in Congress. And to then
a limitation.
Have to deal
what
with
limitation?
things like DOGE just is a massive
They can't enforce
distraction.
anything, though.
They're the ones who have to cut the budget. They're the ones who have to create these programs, not an outside entity.
All they can really do is just open the door and show
Rick
you what's
and
in
Jeannie
it.
are the ones who have to answer our questions here on Balance of Power. Our political panel today, Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzano.
All right, well, I guess that's basically it. I mean, they didn't get too much into detail about it, but anyway, that's basically all I got. So hopefully we'll see something come about on Sunday, or not Sunday, but on Monday. Or maybe we might end up hearing something over the weekend if somebody in Congress or some people in Congress are putting things together. I mean, sometimes, depending on who the Congress member is, they'll put updates on X as the weekend progresses. So maybe we'll hear something, maybe not. Maybe they'll be radio silent until Monday. But hopefully 9.4 billion is just the start of it. I mean, I'd really love for them to come out and say, no, we're actually going to include the 100 and whatever it was, like 118 or 120 billion dollars that DOGE has supposedly uncovered already. I mean, it'd be nice to see that amount of money added in to be able to save just that much more. But anyway, that's all I got. See ya.